Kurayoshi, Ichiro,
Kurayoshi, Ichiro,
Fuyu.
and Fuyu.
Fuyu. Hey, Fuyu! Well, I guess now that we've got the pronunciation figured out for just how it is that we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about, do we start?
Let's start. Lawnmower and all.
Lawnmower and all. Yes, dear listener. If you can hear the lawnmower in the background, that's not little man being put to work. That's the neighbor. The neighbor's out there cutting the grass right after it gave a slight little rain. Today, we're going to be talking about some Japanese whiskey on the Savor the Burn podcast. So welcome to it. The Savor the Burn podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan. Across the table from me is the wild and wonderful W2. I almost said wet, wild, and wonderful, and I'm like, no, that's Warsaw. It's wet, wild, and wonderful Warsaw. I don't know if you remember those commercials or not.
I don't.
No, you were probably living your life.
Warsaw, Missouri?
Warsaw, Missouri, yeah. Yeah, they have some water parks down there. It's a whole thing. They were trying to go through a tourist destination branding thing, I think, back in the early to mid-'90s.
Okay.
So I don't know what you were doing back then. But me, I was trying to avoid that commercial because the theme song was so damn catchy. So what are we trying out today? What do we got tonight?
Yeah, we've been making our rounds through bourbons, through American whiskeys, through Irish whiskeys, through scotches.
Rye.
And Japanese whiskey came up.
Yeah, it did.
And so Flavier.com, I ended up with a couple different tasting boxes with a variety of Japanese whiskeys to try. And I thought, hey, let's dig into it and go from there. So doing a little bit of research on Japanese whiskey, I found it really interesting. It says that whiskey production in Japan began somewhere around 1870, but the first commercial production wasn't until 1923, upon the opening of the country's first distillery, Yamazaki. There we go.
Yeah, because when you said Yamakaze, I was like, fuck, that's a weird word. That sounds kind of like
Yamazaki.
Yeah.
Kind of skipping ahead a little bit, the thing that I found just fascinating with that, though, is, and putting it into perspective, the first recorded distillation in Scotland, Scotch whiskey, was in 1494. And so
that's first recorded. Yeah.
Just thinking about 1494, fast forwarding to 1923 is when the first distillery opened in Japan. That's a long time. And the reason why I kind of correlated those two is Wikipedia goes on to say that the production of Japanese whiskey began as a conscious effort to recreate the style of Scotch whiskey. Mm-hmm. So they're setting out to, I don't know if mimic is the right word, but the exact words that Wikipedia used was conscious effort. So
conscious effort.
Take that for whatever it is. But Japanese whiskey must be fermented, distilled, and aged and bottled in Japan. Use some portion of malted grain in its mash and use water sourced from Japan. Which is no different than your Scotch or your Irish whiskey or Kentucky straight bourbon or, anything that has that type of a classification on there is going to be very regional specific. But I just thought it was just kind of crazy to think that Japanese whiskey didn't even start until this century.
Yeah, 20th. And part of that was due. I mean, if Flavier's YouTube informational video on Japanese whiskey can be trusted, apparently Japan had their own kind of dark ages, kind of Iron Curtain kind of time period where they closed off communications and borders and didn't want to have anything to do with anybody else in the world. They just wanted to concentrate on their Japanese traditions and culture. And their way of life, and to an extent, I can respect that. Japan is steeped with culture and so many wonderful things. Their artwork is phenomenal. Their architecture is beautiful. Their people are, the ones that I've met are genuine and respectful and just kind-hearted people. Definitely not like the average American in Sugar Creek. So, but after 100 or 200 years, I forgot what the year mark was. Trade ships started poking around in the Japanese seas, being like, "Look, guys, we really want to do business with you. Like, drop the crap and let's do something." And the guy credited with doing that, I don't remember the name of his ship, but his name was Captain Matthew Perry. That's the one. Yeah, not Chandler Bing from Friends, but Matthew Perry. So he's like, "Hey, drop the crap. Let's check it out." And so Pan, the officials or whatever, they hopped on board the ship. They looked around, and one of the things that they were most impressed with was the whiskeys and the Scotch whiskies. And they were like, "Oh my Lanta, this is." My words, not theirs. But they were very impressed with it. And one of the people that I think we're going to end up talking about here with the Fuyu, if I'm not mistaken, was one of the people that had a major hand in bringing Scotch whiskey to the Japanese culture and making it their own.
Yeah.
And that was all just from watching like a 4-minute video on YouTube. Dear listener, I will remember to share the video to give some context to what it is that we're talking about on our socials. In some way. Probably just Facebook. I don't know how I can, and Twitter. I can share it there. I don't know if I can share a YouTube video via TikTok or Instagram very well.
What's kind of cool is you sent me the link to that video, and I had not gotten a chance to watch that today.
Okay.
But the research I did in looking for a cocktail for us to try actually led me to learn a little bit about Matthew Perry.
Okay.
Specifically.
Yeah, I saw you flipping through the pages. I'm like, shit, he's got him down
Commodore
here in his notes.
Matthew Perry.
Commodore. See, I was thinking
specific.
Captain.
So we'll get into that a little bit later.
Very cool.
It all comes full circle.
So what's the first thing we got here?
Well, like I said, through Flavier.com, I get these tasting boxes every quarter, and I had 2 tasting boxes, which is 6 of the samplers. And so looking through them and just kind of reading through some of their flavor profiles that are on the site and trying to find a variety in there for our first tasting. The first one we're going to try is Kurayoshi. Mm-hmm. Hey, I got it right the first time. Kurayoshi. It's a 12-year-old pure malt whiskey, and
that must be the whiskey made from a portion of malted grain in its mash. It's probably. I mean, if it says malt whiskey, it's got to have a pretty fair percentage, I would think.
This is a 12-year whiskey. The retail on this bottle is $120. With all these, their country is going to be Japan. The category for them is Japanese whiskey. Mm-hmm. The distillery on this is Kurayoshi. Like I said already, age is 12 years. Style is pure malt whiskey. And I haven't read anything. I'm going to skim through this a little bit more. Maturation on this is lightly charred oak casks.
Lightly charred. So that could be like a char level 2 or 1.
Yeah.
Something past toasted.
And this one comes in at 46%, which is 92 proof. It's
not too hot, not tavern strength.
Nope. Kind of a cut above.
Yeah. I see trying to block myself from the tasting notes. I got to cover it up, piece of paper, so I don't cheat in some way. But it says the appearance and the color is a warm gold. I'd say from the other tester bottles that you have over here, they all look pretty much the same color.
It's got some good legs on the glass.
It just sticks to the side of the glass. Looks good. Smells good.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. It's like a honey sweet.
Yeah, I'm pulling a little bit of a fruity note. There's definitely some malt in there.
Yeah, something kind of fruity or floral. Yeah, this is wild. Like I'm used to, like on the nose, I'm used to finding, oak and some kind of caramel, some kind of
I'm not getting any
butterscotch or something. This is
oak on this.
This is different. I'm having to think harder.
Skipping ahead a little bit, the finish says soft and smooth. I would say that holds true even from nose.
Yeah, it kind of bit in the nose a little bit at first, but now that my senses have been fried, it's all right. Not bad at all. It's all right. Let's put some on the mouth, see what we think.
Do it.
Well, that's very different. It's got a long burn, a slow burn. Mm-hmm. It's not like a rot gut whiskey burn. Mm-hmm. Like
there's the wood.
There is wood.
There's definitely a little bit of woodiness on the palate.
You said this was 12 year?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have in your notes about what I was talking about with the age of, or the aging in their specific, the wood that they use?
Let's see.
With any of these, in that video, that Flavier video, it mentioned they were using wood from a 200-year-old tree.
Yep.
Like it has to be 200 years old before they can even use it.
Yeah, that I think is also in the Fuyu.
Okay.
Oh, well, here you go. The pure malt whiskey. It's 100% malted barley whiskey, sourced from distilleries around Scotland before making their way to Japan, where it is blended with Japanese whiskey, aged and cut to proof with the legendary volcanic stone filtered water of Tottori Prefecture.
I'll take your word for it on the pronunciation.
It says in here, too, that a lot of whiskey lovers argue that 12 years is the perfect age for a malt. I kind of would agree with that.
Yeah.
With just that 12-year mark in general. Across the board, we found that in a lot of the whiskeys that we've tried, the 12 years seems to be the sweet spot for not just taste and flavor, but also cha-ching.
Oh, yeah,
the
money.
Price point.
Yeah, the price point.
Taste is such a personal thing that it's hard to say, but we have noticed that many of our favorite drums happen to be in the ballpark of a dozen years or so. Kurayoshi 12-year-old pure malt is not exception. Is
probably no exception.
Is no exception. Yep. See, I copy and paste the stuff from the website,
right?
And there's typos all over the place.
It's weird. Like I see typos on websites all the time. I'm like, how did you guys let that slip? Who's your editor?
Yeah, and considering that's what I do for a living, it drives me up the wall.
Yeah, but this is definitely good. Like on the smell. Like you pointed out, malt, some kind of a fruitiness. I picked up on like a sweet, almost honey kind of fruit. I wouldn't put it at dried fruit, or maybe I would. I don't know. It's really good though. It's really different.
It also says that all the bases are covered. Pure malt, aged a full 12 years, is in new, lightly charred oak and served up at an absolutely perfect 43% ABV. Without any of the unwelcome and unnecessary additives that no one really wants.
Yeah. What the hell does that mean?
And the result is certainly a sweet spot for us, mellowing the bright tones of the younger spirits into warm notes of nuts and toffee.
Oh, okay. It says here in your flavor notes here, vanilla toffee, sultanas, and toasted wood with a hint of tart cherry.
Do you know what sultanas are?
No, I don't. Seems like something I could Google real quick, unless you already know.
I do not.
Oh, Google. The sultana is a white, oval, seedless grape variety, also called the sultanina. Thompson seedless, Lady de Coverley, and oval-fruited kishmish. It is also known as, I'm not pronouncing that word, it's Turkish.
Well, that would be the fruity notes.
Yeah, so it's a grape style fruit.
And you said a white grape?
Yeah, white grape. I guess they dry them and use them like, craisins and raisins. Mm-hmm. They also use them for just about anything that you would usually use for grapes, or grapes for, I should say.
Yeah, that's really good.
And the finish is soft and smooth, just like the notes say. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, it does have that kind of spicy burn. That is kind of slow. It moves through you pretty slow, but it's pretty damn tasty.
Yeah,
and pretty different.
Yeah, it's definitely different and unique. But I can also pick out the correlation between this and a Scotch. There's definitely no smokiness on this one.
Yeah, that's a good point. If it's a Scotch, where's the smokiness? Or it doesn't say it's a Scotch, does it?
No, but just in general, thinking about the idea that the Japanese whiskey market got into it consciously.
Because of Scotch.
Consciously trying to mimic Scotch. The tasting notes don't go into this much. Oh, there it is. Vanilla toffee, sultanas, and toasted wood with a hint of tart cherry.
Is that what it says on the Flavier taster card?
Well, that's what I've copied and pasted from the tasting notes.
Oh, okay.
The card I've got here has a majority caramel with mineral and cherry, And then a little bit of a nutty vanilla roasted sweet pear. And then at the very end of it, they've got peaty on here. I'm not picking up on the
peaty. On the vanilla, you said I was going to say vanilla when you said caramel. And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't think what I was tasting was caramel. I thought it was more vanilla-like, but then you said vanilla. So.
Well, and in the notes, it says vanilla toffee.
Oh, well, shit.
But on the card, it says caramel. So caramel, toffee.
Yeah. One's a little harder to chew than the other.
I've always thought of toffee as being more of a, not burnt caramel, but a little bit more of a roasted caramel.
Yeah. Roasted. So, do you have any thoughts to add on this before we go into the 1 to 10? The rating?
I like this one a lot. I thought it's very easy drinking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I would, at $120 for the bottle, I don't know if I would.
Yeah, there's something cheaper.
Yeah.
There's something cheaper. However, this is to me, I almost said the word exceptional, but I mean, it's the first Japanese whiskey I've had, I think. So, like, I don't really know if this sets the bar or if the bar is somewhere else.
Yeah.
That said, at 92 proof, it doesn't feel like a 90 proof. Like I had half a pour, and usually half a pour feels different in my veins than something else. So it feels like this physically. It physically feels like maybe this would be very sneaky.
I could see that.
I mean, you could really fuck yourself up with something like this.
Well, and with a soft, smooth finish on this, and like you said, the little bit of burn that's there it's smooth as over, off, and I mean, it's a long finish, but it's so smooth and so well rounded that you don't get that jarring bite that you get with a lot of things that have heat to it.
Well, I think with, I mean, it's a 12-year, like you said, that's a sweet spot as far as aging goes. For us, it begins like the mid-tier level for like mid-shelf bourbons and whiskeys. Even though at $120 a bottle, well, I mean, one, it's imported, like it's from Japan, so it costs money to get that over here, and there's profit margins for everybody. So I would expect it.
That 12-year...
I'm not going to bitch about it.
Yeah, that 12-year plays into that $120 bottle.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, a lot of the other ones, and like you said, you know, there's something out there cheaper. There's a lot of things out there that are cheaper.
But are there a lot of things out there cheaper that are Japanese whiskeys?
I would say yes, but at the 12-year age...
Probably not.
Probably not.
Lots to consider. And this is like my first dipping my toe in the water as far as this goes. But, I mean, as compared to other whiskeys and bourbons that I've tried, I don't know. I kind of want to just throw it at maybe a 7.5, 7. I don't want to go negative on it because I really don't have a lot to say. But as far as critique goes, but this it seems like as compared to the everything that we've had here in the States, it could be on par with that, but not at that price point. It doesn't have the things that like the Kentucky bourbons and the Tennessees and the Texas and the New York whiskeys that we've had. It doesn't have what they have, but it does have some things that they don't, like the water that they used to distill in the volcanic. You said volcanic filtration, something like that.
Yeah, it says here that the Matsui Shuso Distillery was founded in 1910, northwest of Kyoto, on the facing the sea of Japan in Tottori Prefecture. I am butchering all of these, so please forgive me, listeners.
Right.
But importantly, the distillery is within sight of Mount Daisen.
Daisen?
Daisen, volcanic peak rising more than a mile above the surrounding fertile plains. This is significant because the spring water used to distill their sake, sochu, and whiskey and bring it to proof has filtered through volcanic stone for eons, resulting in significant purity and a unique soft mineral composition.
And that's something that no other whiskey we've tried, or bourbon or scotch or whatever, has mentioned anything about. Like volcanic stone filtration. How unique is that?
Very, very unique. You know, I read through that, and for whatever reason, what pops into my head is going on the Boulevard Beer tour here in Kansas City.
Okay.
You know, they take you through there and give you a little bit of history on where Boulevard came from or whatever. And they've got, you know, the giant TV down in the brewery that they start you off with, just a little bit of background or whatever. And there's a whole section of that video that talks about the Missouri River, and it shows pictures of the dirtiest brown water.
Big old puddle of mud.
And they make light of it. It is filtered. It is,
boy, I hope,
sanitized and all of those things. But they make a point to sell you on Boulevard Beer is made with Kansas City, Missouri River water.
I've never been on that tour.
And that's just not as sexy sounding as volcanic stone purified water.
That river, the Missouri River, like I've seen it, I've smelled it. It has a distinct smell. And it's like, it's full of like carp and hooker piss. Like, it's not pretty. Not fucking pretty.
So I'm much more excited. I'm much more excited about the water that is used in this whiskey but I think I'm right there at a 7.
At a 7? Yeah. And how do you get there? I mean, you've had Japanese whiskeys before, so you kind of know what more to expect. You've had more experience with it. Me, I'm not sure how I got to a 7. Yeah, admittedly.
So the couple that I have had, one, it's been a while. I don't know if I was really paying as close attention to the profiles and all that at the time, but the couple that I have had were a lot more fruity. This has a little bit more complex characters to its profile. So there's a little bit more there to unpack. So that's part of why I'm kind of getting there. Like we've talked about before, also, I'm also kind of trying to consciously think about this neat, but then also what could this be in X cocktail.
Yeah, I thought about that as I was finishing it, my drink, and again as I was trying to rate it, I don't know what you would use this as, because like I'm thinking it's a Japanese whiskey. It should be, you know, at least first introduced to us as a cocktail. It should be introduced to us as a Japanese style cocktail.
Sure.
And I am so ignorant to what it is that they have as far as like food goes. I mean, I love sushi. I know that's Japanese, but like that's not all they eat all the time. Right. They don't just eat, you know, jasmine rice and
raw fish
and green tea. Like I know there's so much more to it. There's got to be. So I don't know. I'm at a loss as far as that. I come into this episode, this series of episodes with it's pretty much carte blanche as far as, you know, background information I have on these things, and I'm a wide open mind, ready to learn, ready to soak it all in.
There's part of me that's kind of, I'm putting it at a 7 because we haven't really established a baseline as a starting point. This being a 12-year, it's got a really smooth finish on there. It's the palate start to finish is very smooth. And I think that plays into that 12-year aging on this. And so because of that, I'm inclined to push it up a little bit more.
I guess with me, when it comes to my baseline, like my baseline is 5, right? And for me, like my old hat, I've talked about it 1,000 times. Like it just, you know, your good old-fashioned white label Jim Beam. For me, it's not the best, it's not the worst, it's a great 5. It's got, as far as flavor goes, it's got maybe 4 different flavors in it that I like. The burn isn't awful. It is a sour mash. Those aren't always my favorite. I'm not always in the mood for fucking sour mash. You know, like I said, it's got a fairly standard amount of flavors for me to enjoy as I'm drinking it. It's versatile. You can use it straight. You can use it in a cocktail, a gin and cola, if you please. But I mean, you could use it. It's fairly versatile, industry standard. You know, kind of mid-level. It's relatively inexpensive, like $20, $15, for a 750 milliliter. It's just, I like it. But when it comes to this, the Kurayoshi 12-year pure malt whiskey, retailing at $120 a bottle. My God.
Pinkies up.
Woof, man. You said it. But I think it's a couple steps above my personal standard of a 5. So I think that's just kind of what I'm basing it off of. Now, if I took it to, you remember the Redbreast 12-year? No, because that was like a 8.5, maybe a 9. It was a new standard for Mitch, and I still agree, and I don't think I've had it since, maybe once since, but this doesn't touch that. So it's somewhere in between. I really don't know how else to explain it. I'm trying to be very thorough with my thought process on this. So hopefully, if the listener agrees or disagrees, or they can at least fully understand where I'm coming from. And you said you had Japanese whiskeys in the past, but you weren't too concerned with the flavor profiles on that. Does that mean you were just drinking them to get drunk, or you tried? It was like, oh, Japanese whiskey, I think I'll try that, and you tried it, and it's just like,
there. Yep.
Huh. That'll get you drunk. What's next?
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Well, dear listener, if you're looking for something not out of this world, but out of this country, you can definitely try the Kurayoshi. That is spelled Kurayyoshi. It's a 12-year-old pure malt whiskey retailing for roughly $120. It is 12 years old, and it came all the way from Japan. Yep. Aged 12 years in a wooden barrel. You're not buying a 12-year-old for $120. I don't know why I felt the need to.
Thanks for clarifying.
Clarify that. It felt right. It felt right. Like I needed to point that out. But anyway, so if you have the money and you want to show up to the party with the fucking look at this dude, brought in this really cool looking bottle. It's dark glass bottle. It's got purple label with gold, maybe gold leaf, lettering and kind of graphics on it. It's an elegant-ish looking bottle.
It's also a very classic Scotch shaped bottle.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it very much is. You know what? And you might like getting a second pour or a third pour. You might pick up on the peatiness. Yeah, like we have half of a pour because W2 here is splitting his tester bottle with me. But so I guess my experience was already limited. However, I enjoyed it. I'd throw a 7 at it, easy. W2's got it at
right at 7.
Wow, we're starting to agree on stuff. Look at us go. How about that? So definitely check that out. So up next, it looks like we've got an offering from Ichiro's Malt and Grain Whiskey from also, of course, the great country of Japan, a Japanese whiskey retailing for roughly $95. What all else can you tell us about this one?
This one is a NAS, so there's no age statement on this one. Mm-hmm. The style for this one, the last one was a pure malt whiskey. Mm-hmm. This is just a blended Japanese whiskey. Malt
and grain. It says in your notes here, warm gold. I'd put it as a similar gold to the last one.
I feel like this may be just a hair lighter.
Yeah. Yep. It seems like it's got more legs. Like, I don't know if that's because I've got water residue in here from where I tried to rinse out my glass.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, it seems like it's more ribbony on the side of the glass. It's really interesting on the nose too.
I like in the distiller's description that I pulled off of the site, the very first sentence on this was, "This just might be the first Japanese whiskey to have its own groupies." And I haven't dug into what exactly that entails, but
well, slap my ass and call me Sally. Don't call me Sally. Don't slap my ass. It says here in the nose, peach and apricot cobbler, lemon zest and granola.
I'm definitely picking up the lemon zest.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But peach and apricot cobbler?
And there's some granola.
I'm not picking up granola.
A little bit of an earthiness to it.
Huh. Yeah, I can pick up some of the stone fruit, but cobbler, no, not yet.
I'm picking up more of a cobbler, kind of a biscuity kind of a aroma. More so than the peach or apricot.
The more I throw the nose at it, the more I am smelling the granola. Yeah, do you pronounce it apricot or apricot?
I've always pronounced it apricot.
I've pronounced it both ways. and I have no idea why. Like if I see an apricot tree, it's usually an apricot tree. But if it's like like I'll eat dried apricots. Mm-hmm. But I've also called it like apricot jam jelly, whatever. I don't know. Usually it's apricot, I guess. Sometimes apricot. I talk out my ass, man. I don't know. So yeah, it's I am starting, like, the more I get on the nose, the more I'm picking up on the granola thing, and maybe it's psychosomatic, suggested reasoning or whatever. But like maybe that's what's mixing with the smell of the peach and apricot to give us the cobbler, the combined smell of the cobbler. Very interesting on the nose. Mm-hmm. Let's put it on the mouth here and see what we think. The burn is nothing but a flash, and it's gone immediately.
Mm-hmm. That is very different than the...
I've got some toffee. It's not oak. It's some kind of wood. I don't think this has been charred, like a char level 5 kind of wood. I wonder if this is lightly charred like the last one is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely wood on
that. The stone fruits carries over. Kind of vanilla, kind of toffee. What's it say?
The end of the palate,
it says vanilla.
There's some
toffee.
kind of a fruit, kind of a tropical fruit.
Huh. I'm surprised to see lemongrass in here.
This says vanilla toffee up front.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
It says tropical fruit, pepper, and lemongrass. I grew lemongrass in the garden last year. What kind of pepper? Black pepper? White pepper?
Yes.
Himalayan sea salt peppers? Good luck finding that one.
It says that the finish is more tropical fruit and lingering butterscotch. Maybe.
I'm getting a lingering wood flavor with...
It's kind of like a saddlewood kind of a...
Saddlewood?
Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm that specific because that's one of the scents in a lot of the beard products that I end up getting.
Oh, okay. Do you taste your beard products? You're just like...
I don't taste them, no.
It's good on the beard. I wonder what it is on the tongue.
But saddlewood and lemongrass are two commonly used
Those are popular, both in beard care? Huh. Mm-hmm. Well, you do have a fantastic beard. So where would you put this on the 1 to 10? How would you rate this?
I liked this one. I thought this one was really good, but I'm going to put this one a little lower than the last one. I don't remember. I'm sure we mentioned it, but this one comes in at 46.5%, 93 proof versus 92 proof. So just a hair hotter, but a lot more heat to it, which is not necessarily. Really? I thought so. I mean, it's not overly hot, and it doesn't bother me. I like a little bit of heat from my whiskey, and as we've talked about before, especially when we get into making cocktails, I've definitely found for me it holds true that the higher the proof, anything over 100 actually helps elevate the cocktail a little bit more. It allows the whiskey to come through and allows the supporting actors, actresses, the other ingredients of the cocktail to take that secondary seat, and allows the whiskey to kind of shine. If you get something that's below 100 in a cocktail, a lot of times your lemon's going to take over. Your whatever your sweetener is, if you're using a honey syrup,
your star actor gets lost, or a simple in the presentation.
Syrup. They very, very easily can take over. Which sometimes that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're making a cocktail with a very specific whiskey that, for whatever reason, the specific profile of it or whatever, it's going to get lost with those other ingredients and bitters. With the whole variety of different bitters that are out there, those right there alone can also take over and kind of dominate the flavor of the cocktail. So when it comes to cocktails, all that to say is, I enjoy a little bit of a burn. I enjoy a higher proofed whiskey. This was definitely, I felt a lot, maybe a little bit strong, but it's definitely hotter than the last one. I'm going to give it a 6.5.
6.5. I would probably hold it solid still at a 7.
At a 7, okay.
Because it had things like just going back to the benchmark from the last one, and not to compare, obviously it's unfair to compare, but it has some things that the previous one didn't. It also didn't have some things that the other one had. So this one here, for me on the finish, it wasn't more tropical fruit and lingering butterscotch like the note says. It was more of a woody, a sweet vanilla toffee kind of wood flavor that hung out after the quick burn. It had more spice, and the burn was maybe just as hot, but it didn't linger.
Yeah.
It didn't burn. It wasn't a slow tapering burn from the proof that the previous one had.
The more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm thinking that maybe some of the burn that's there is more of, because in the palate and the finish, it talks about tropical fruits. So maybe part of that burn is a little bit more of that acidic kind of quality.
Which you would also get from the lemongrass. But
sure.
It also says pepper.
Yep.
So to me, like there's a spice burn and there's a proof burn, if that makes sense. So like for me, this has more of a spice burn than the other one had, or like that my old standard number 5 mid-range, mid of the mid, whatever bourbon is probably a fucking 2 for you, Jim Beam. But I don't know. It's just it seems like it's good, but it's not great. I'd say the low end of great is 8. I would say it's at the higher end of good, which would be 5, 6, 7 for me. That's what I think. And you put it at a what? 6?
6.5.
Do you have any closing thoughts on this?
Good sample.
Good sample. Yeah. I still haven't tasted the lemongrass. Not in this whiskey. I've had it because I grew it last year in the garden. It grew quite well, but this is neither here nor there. I don't even know why I brought that up.
Now, is lemongrass something a lot like, as some of the cocktails we've done, we've talked about the mint, smacking them on the glass and to open up and release the oils and that. Is lemongrass something that also has that kind of a characteristic of there where you have to crunch it or smack it?
So if you take, it's not the same, but if you take like a green onion, you kind of peel off the bottom or the outside layer down at the bottom by the root. If you peel that off, and you could, probably maybe twist it or crunch it a little bit and then smack it around the edge, I'm sure you would get something. But you're going to have most of that's going to be on your hand. So sure. I would suggest putting maybe a half to 3/4, 1 inch, whatever slice off the end of it, muddling it a little bit.
Okay.
Mixing your drink and then straining it. To get the full impact of the lemongrass. It can be overpowering, like in if you eat like Thai soup, or I know some Chinese restaurants have it. I would guess since it's in their whiskey, it's in Japanese cuisine as well. So I don't know. There's just so much about Japan and their culture and their economy that I just don't know. I know that technologically they pretty much took over in the 80s. Remember, was it Back to the Future 2 or 3 when they were trying to rebuild the it's like a 1 inch computer chip, and like Doc Brown has like this 2-foot square, like vacuum tubes and soldered connections and stuff strapped to the hood. It's like, Japan, well, there's your problem. And Marty was like, come on, Doc, the best stuff comes from Japan. And that was 1985. We knew it back then. But yeah, this is
back in time.
I love Huey Lewis. Like some of those songs, man, like they slap. Still banging. Love it. So yeah, we got a 6.5 from W2 and a 7 as far as the rating goes for the Ichiro's malt and grain whiskey, retailing it at roughly $95. Again, it's kind of a higher price point, but it is coming from Japan, and it's using all Japanese ingredients, and it's using a very distinct, if that's the right word, distilling process. So it's got a lot of hands that it's got to go through. The bottle is maybe your standard looking Scotch whiskey bottle. Yep. It's a white label, very simple. Gold art, black lettering, black cap, top wrapped, whatever bottle. So it's not ugly. It looks rather plain, But really, I don't know what all you would really expect from a label, because like they say, you can't judge a book by its cover. I totally agree with that one. But yeah, so dear listener, if you're looking for a Japanese whiskey, something to try out, and you've got $100 laying around, why not give this one a try? The Ichiro's malt and grain whiskey, retailing for roughly $95, from straight from the great country of Japan. It's from the Chichibu distillery. It's non-age specific, so really you can't quite get an age range on the barrel aging on this, but that's all right because it's a blended Japanese whiskey. So it could be ranging 2 years to 10 years, and they just mix it all together. But they don't want to put 2 years down if it's got some elements of or some additions of a 10 to 12-year-old whiskey in there. So that's why they throw that no age, that NAS designation on it. Yep, it's a beautiful gold whiskey. It's very tasty. It's got a little bit of spice to it, spice heat to it. Spicy. But it's not. It doesn't have as much of a harsh kind of whiskey burn from the proof, even though it's got a 1 point higher proof than the other one did at 93 proof. So it's not bad. I think this one would probably work better in a cocktail than the previous one. The previous one, I was just trying to wrap my head around it. Like, this is good. It's so different.
I'm thinking too that I would think that with the tropical fruit and the peach and the apricot notes that are in the profile, making this into a cocktail that has lemon juice or pineapple juice or some kind of other
because it did say tropical fruit
that would help bring that out a little bit more.
Maybe banana.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of the banana. So good. So dear listener, if you're looking for that or this or anything involving Japanese whiskey, or maybe you're already familiar with Japanese whiskey, and you think maybe we're just full of shit, and we need to have our brain or our heads examined. Feel free to contact us. Send us an email, info@savortheburn.com. Email me personally, Jonathan at savortheburn.com. Send me the hate mail, or send W2 some hate mail at W2@savortheburn.com. Or you can hop in the DMs on any of our socials, including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Savor the Burn or @SavorTheBurn. Definitely drop a subscribe on our YouTube channel. We're always looking to pump those numbers up on YouTube especially, but any of them will work. We have plenty of reels that we're adding and shorts, and we're trying to throw more content out there that's informative and brings some value to the viewer, not just the listener. The listener, I think they get quite a bit out of everything that we talk about, but just based on the feedback that we get, not just from Mitch, bless his heart, not just from Mitch, but from other people as well. But definitely check out savortheburn.com. Check out the liquor cabinet. It's always being updated. There's always new stuff going on. Our reviews, tips and tricks. What other kind of smoke can I blow to get people to check out the savortheburn.com website? It's handled and designed and really just it's a damn masterpiece as far as this podcast goes. All by W2. So definitely stop by and check it out. A lot of work goes into that. You check out all the links to all of our socials and keep listening. Everywhere you listen to podcasts, we're there. Spotify, Audible, Apple Podcasts, Google, Samsung. Fucking did it again. I was like, Samsung. I'm like reading through the list. Everything's cool. Not a problem. Samsung. Fuck. I thought for sure I was going to say Samsung. Back. Samsung, and many, many more. So thank you for listening, dear listener. And thank you for watching our reels and our shorts. Like I said, subscribe. And no matter who you are and what you're doing, what you're drinking, always remember, dear listener, to keep on burning.